and welcome back. Over the years, I've owned a number of different drum kits, but I've always had a special place for student-level kits, falling in between entry and professional-level drums. Of course, price can be a huge factor in making these decisions, and these mid-tier kits are usually more cost-effective, but I've also found that a number of companies make really amazing drums in this level, and one that has stood out in that category for decades is Yamaha with their Stage Custom line. Originally introduced in 1995, the Stage Custom series has been a staple for drummers of all experience levels and have been a mainstay for house kits at venues, churches, and especially within schools. Yamaha has always impressed me with their craftsmanship and eye towards innovation. Their company excels in a wide variety of products, not only within the musical industry, but things like motorcycles, stereo systems, and even boat motors. In fact, for most of my childhood, my dad worked for Yamaha in their outboard motor division in California and Georgia. I've owned different Stage Custom kits before and have always been able to depend on them for recording and performing, but I recently found a good deal on this used Stage Custom Bop kit online and thought this would be a good time to share my thoughts on the most current iteration available now. These drums are 100% birch shells and vary between 6 and 7 ply construction. The shell pack comes with a 12 by 8 inch rack tom, a 14 by 13 inch floor tom, and an 18 by 15 inch bass drum. Both toms come with triple flanged hoops, and the rack tom comes with Yamaha's Yes tom mount, which I've always found to be one of the easiest and sturdiest to work with. As you can see, there was some assembly required with my purchase in order for it all to fit within one box, but I typically see that as a good chance to really get a feel for the construction and usability of drums, so it was helpful to me here. During my assembly, one thing I found surprising was that the lugs on these drums only have one screw to secure them to the shell, but then have a second pin that sticks partway into the shell to keep the lug oriented correctly. I'm not sure if I like this or not, but I think Yamaha's goal is to have less screws going into each shell, allowing it to resonate more freely, so in that respect, I appreciate the idea. After getting these drums put together, I went into my storage room to grab some other heads, because although these drums do ship new with Remo coated heads, I typically try to save those in case I decide to sell the drums later. After I had these drums set and tuned, I ended up bringing them with me later that night to a small gig I had playing with a jazz trio for a private party. One thing I appreciate about a jazz kit is the size, and being both smaller to haul around, but also set up where I might not be on a stage with lots of room to spread out. I found these drums to work well and allow me to get a nice sound without being too loud, especially in an untreated room where I'm not being done any favors by the space acoustically. A few nights later, I had a show with a big band for a swing dance event, and I was excited to see how these drums would step up to a louder ensemble in a bigger room. Again, I was impressed with the results. I tuned them down a bit and felt like I could carry weight through the 10-piece horn section and drive the group from behind this kit. Typically on a big band gig, I might prefer to use a 20-inch bass drum, but the 18 did well here and had enough range to get a lower, more thuddy kick sound. A few weeks later, I decided to try bringing these drums to a gig outside of the jazz world and brought them along to this show at a bar with a power trio doing some light rock and pop covers. I find it nice to use smaller drums on these gigs because space can be a premium, and honestly, these are sizes I'm comfortable behind. I will say that as we got into playing, I struggled to hear and feel the kick drum in a way that worked with this music, but I think if we had a better monitor setup, a kick mic would fix that issue instantly. On all of these gigs, I got nice feedback from the other musicians I played with on this kit, and overall, I found them not only easy to play with on stage, but easy to haul around and set up, which is one of the most important factors in me choosing what equipment to use on any given gig. So after a couple months gigging with these drums, I brought them back downstairs to finally test out in the studio and record a demo. I did make sure to swap out the heads back for the original stock heads, just so that I could give a more accurate review to any potential buyers of this set. I paired this kit up with my old Slingerland aluminum snare and some thinner, dark jazz cymbals. The recording was done with minimal EQ or processing, and just a simple 2-mic setup with a Shure KSM32 as an overhead and an SE Electronics V-Kick on the bass drum. So after getting a chance to play these more in a controlled environment, I think they do have some nice versatility still. As you'd expect, these drums sing in the higher tunings and sound like a great bop drum set. In the lower tunings, I felt myself working a little harder to get the sound I wanted, especially from the bass drum, but it was achievable, and after taking these out on some gigs, I think it just comes down to the setup and head choice, so I know it can be done. I've never been a big fan of the bass drum sound that many bebop drummers use, where the drum sounds closer to a tom, but it's a sound I'll use occasionally, and for drummers who like this wide open sound, the stock head certainly achieves that. These drums look very nice, especially in this piano black finish, but Yamaha does offer a couple other simple finishes that I think look really nice as well. I think my favorite part about this kit is probably the hardware. It's built with durability and functionality in mind, and everything from the tom mount to the leg spurs work with ease, and were really reliable through all of my use with this kit. If I could change anything about this set, it'd probably be the floor tom legs. I found them to be quite longer than needed, but also they have these spikes built into the bottom of them that should be able to retract into the rubber feet, but they always seem to slip out. I've never needed spikes to keep my floor tom in place the same way you would on a bass drum, and I found these a little annoying. Overall, I think Yamaha knocked it out of the park with this kit, and on top of that, the price point is much lower than a lot of their direct competitors, coming in under $600 new for these 3 shells. I'd have no hesitation recommending this to a student getting started on drums, a professional looking for a cheap gigging kit, or a school looking to get something that can take the wear and tear of constant use. If you find yourself looking to purchase one of these kits, I have a link below in the description to Sweetwater, which allows you to support my channel directly without any extra costs added on your end. I know there's tons of other stage custom owners out there, so if you have experience or opinions on these drums, leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to stay up to date on all of my future video releases. And until next time, thanks.